Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. At the wedding rehearsal, Lucian's foster sister suddenly started gagging. He panicked and rushed her to the hospital. Half an hour later, the phone rang. She's pregnant. I was about to say congratulations, but his voice was chillingly calm. The child is mine. That night she broke up, was shivering in the rain, and I just held her to keep her warm. I didn't expect. We have to keep this from mom and dad. I brought her home to take care of her, and we'll deal with the baby after it's born. The wedding will be postponed for a year. You go explain and apologize to the guests. My throat tightened, and I couldn't squeeze out a single word. He continued, "You resign immediately. Serena needs someone to take care of her, and nothing must go wrong in these few months." I suddenly laughed. All right. He hung up the phone satisfied. But he didn't know that I had made a bet with someone else. If I wasn't married by 30, I wouldn't marry him. And today just happened to be my 30th birthday. Maybe my calmness was too unusual. Just 3 seconds after hanging up, Lucian called again. "Elena, I'm sorry, this is my fault. But believe me, I only see Serena as a sister. The child really was an accident." I laughed self-mockingly. Such deep sibling affection. Keeping warm ended up in bed. How touching. There was a clear pause on the phone, then his helpless sigh. "I understand if you're angry. You can scold me or hit me. But Serena is still in school. She can't say who the father of the child is since she's unmarried and pregnant. She's an orphan, and although her adoptive parents treat her like their own daughter, they won't accept this kind of thing and will definitely kick her out. So I hope you can acknowledge the child. You just quit your job and are at home. No one will suspect the child isn't yours." Tilting my head back to hold back the heat in my eyes, I spoke dryly. "Lucian, let's not get married." He was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly shouted, "Not getting married? Elena, wasn't it you who said we've been dating for 5 years and kept pestering me to hold the wedding as soon as possible? Now the whole circle knows you're my fiancée. Elena, do you think marriage is a joke? When did you become so willful?" I can imagine the frown tightening on his forehead at this moment. And sure enough, the next second I heard him threaten, "Elena, I'll ask you one last time. Do you really not want to get married?" My fingers clenched the phone tightly, and I gave a bitter smile. "Yes, I don't want you anymore, Lucian." He sneered coldly. "I'm not in a mood to argue with you. Do as you please." The phone was slammed down harshly. I stood in the center of the banquet hall, and amidst the surprised gazes of everyone, I tore off my veil and turned to run out. Lucian's parents quickly stepped in to block my way, and Uncle Ryan took the initiative. "Elena, what are you crazy about? Just because Lucian took his sister to the hospital, you want to ruin this wedding? Do you want to make a joke of our family in front of hundreds of guests?" Aunt Vivian snorted coldly and added, "I've said before that they are not suitable. Our family has a long scholarly tradition, while Elena's family is just nouveau riche, not a match for us." But Lucian insisted, and I couldn't do anything about it. "Look, today we've made a fool of ourselves." Uncle Ryan sneered, Fine. If they don't get married, it's better. Otherwise, with her temper, she'll offend people and ruin our family's reputation." Clearly, Lucian was at fault first, yet these two were blaming me instead. I clenched my veil tightly, my fingertips trembling. The wedding was canceled by Lucian. As for the specific reason, you should ask him. Hearing that it was Lucian's decision, they became even more self-righteous. Even if Lucian canceled it, you, as the bride, ran off without saying a word? Shouldn't you apologize to everyone in person? How did your parents raise you? You don't even understand the most basic manners. How can you be our family's daughter-in-law? I took a deep breath. I will not marry into your family. If there's nothing else, please let me pass. Their faces changed drastically. They clearly didn't expect the usually meek me to be so firm. I ignored them and walked straight past them toward the makeup room. Aunt Vivian shouted behind me in a fluster, "You uncultured thing!" In the dressing room, someone had been waiting there for a while. His fitted sportswear emphasized his broad shoulders and long legs, sunlight coming from the side outlining his sharp silhouette. But the dark circles under his eyes betrayed him. He probably hadn't slept well. When he saw me come in, he crossed his arms and straightened up, a familiar, cheeky smile playing at the corner of his mouth. I turned my face away. Didn't someone swear never to attend my wedding? He suddenly leaned in, his warm breath brushing past my ear. At the moment our eyes met, I suddenly saw the stubborn boy from 10 years ago. Elena, a bet is a bet. I pressed my lips together and said nothing. He suddenly got anxious. You forgot. He paused, as if throwing caution to the wind. I don't care. We're getting married in 3 days. If you don't come, I'll go to your house and become a live-in son-in-law. After saying this, as if afraid of hearing my refusal, he quickly slipped out the door. I suddenly burst out laughing. This fool, of course I remember the bet. Our two families have been close friends for generations, growing up together since childhood. We're too familiar to be lovers. 10 years ago, he confessed to me, and I said, let's just be friends. He looked hurt and insisted on betting with me. Unexpectedly, in the end, I still lost. I had just changed out of my wedding dress when Lucian sent me a photo. All my belongings were piled up like trash at the villa's entrance. The quilt my mom personally sewed was the most glaring, carelessly stuffed into a transparent plastic bag. The bright red satin hurting my eyes in the sunlight. Come and move it immediately. If you don't want it, I'll have the servants throw it away. I stared at the screen, my fingertips turning cold. He knows exactly how to manipulate me. I can give up other things, but I must get that quilt back. Okay, I'll do it. That quilt, my mom spent 3 months making it. She never touched needle and thread before, and her fingers were pricked until they were covered in blood spots. On the night before the wedding, she still smiled as she handed me the quilt. Daughter, may you have a lifetime of happiness. But when I arrived, the doorway was empty. It had only been half an hour, and I clearly said I would come. Was he really so eager to kick me out? Rage suddenly surged up, and I pushed open the villa door and rushed inside. The moment I pushed the door, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. Serena sat on the edge of the dining table. Lucian held her waist with both hands, his profile pressed against Serena's swollen belly, his eyes and brows tender to the point of being dazzling. Serena suddenly whispered, "Brother, the baby kicked me." Lucian immediately pressed closer, a smile curve on his lips that I had never seen before. So naughty, just like you when you were little. When he looked up, his gaze was so soft it seemed to drip with water. I wish your eyes were like yours. Serena smiled with pursed lips. Lucian skillfully planted a kiss on her lips, his tone suddenly turning guilty. Are you really sure you want to have the child and then leave? Actually, you can stay. I can take care of you and the child. Such a small child can't be without its biological mother. Serena extended her index finger to press against his lips, shaking her head. Brother, if I don't leave, what about sister-in-law? Upon hearing the word sister-in-law, Lucian clearly flinched for a moment. Then his expression darkened. Her breaking up now is just out of spite. Once the child is born, she'll be the one begging me to come back and help. The kind of merchant's daughter only sees profit. There's no such thing as dignity in her eyes. Have you forgotten how she only agreed to be my girlfriend back then? Just thinking about her annoying face now makes me feel disgusted. My tears silently rolled down. It turned out that the confession I bravely made back then had disgusted him for so many years. Lucian's family is the top calligraphy family in S City, and Lucian is the youngest renowned calligrapher in S City. 5 years ago, he came to my father with a handwritten piece seeking investment for a calligraphy academy. My father praised him highly and specially introduced him to me. I fell in love with him at first sight and shamelessly insisted on learning calligraphy from him. He angrily pointed at me and scolded, "You're stupid, completely talentless." I grinned cheekily. "Then be my boyfriend. We'll complement each other perfectly." He glanced at Serena, who was writing with her head down, then suddenly held my hand and laughed self-mockingly. All right then. I jumped up happily and hugged him, completely unaware of Serena rushing out and the sudden stiffness in his arm. I only now understand that Serena was always the one in his heart. No wonder he refused to teach me how to write anymore and didn't even let me into the study. My chest felt tight and bitter. I wanted to turn and leave, but then I remembered the quilt Mom sewed couldn't be thrown away. Lucian suddenly turned his head, sneering as he curled his lips. Elena, what are you sneaking around the door for? Everything's been thrown out already. Are you regretting it now? I gripped my palm tightly. Where's my quilt? Get back to me. He was stunned for a moment, his face even colder. A worn-out quilt? You think I want it? My voice began to tremble. That was sewn by my mom with her own hands. Give it back to me. I'm leaving immediately. Seeing that I was about to cry, he frowned. You're crying? Are you crazy? Is it really necessary? It is necessary, I shouted, tears finally falling down. Lucian anxiously tugged at his bow tie, hesitating to speak. Beside him, Serena suddenly seemed to remember something and hurriedly said, Sister-in-law, please don't yell at brother. I had the servants put your things in the guest room. As she spoke, her fingers gently stroked her lower abdomen, tears instantly welling up. Sister-in-law, can you not move away? If it's because of this child, I will have an abortion. His arrival was a mistake from the start, and none of you welcome him. Before she finished speaking, she was already crying uncontrollably. I won't allow it. Lucian's voice nearly lost control as he trembled, tightly pulling Serena into his arms and turning to glare fiercely at me. She can leave all she wants, but don't you dare touch my child. Right now, you and the child are all I have. Elena, if this is why you came, then get out of here. I sneered coldly and walked straight to the guest room. The cup was carelessly thrown on the ground, stained with dirt and vomit, and the original dragon and phoenix embroidery had become filthy and ruined. My finger trembled as I pointed at the quilt. Serena, explain yourself. She timidly shrank her neck. I didn't do it on purpose. I just suddenly felt nauseous. Saying that, she bent down to pick it up. Sister-in-law, please don't be angry. I'll help you clean it. But as soon as she bent over, she cried out in pain. My stomach hurts so much. Lucian suddenly rushed over and pushed me to the ground. The back of my head slammed heavily against the bedpost, and at the moment the sharp pain exploded, warm liquid trickled down my temple. I bit my lip without making a sound, just smiling as I looked at Lucian, wanting to see if he really had any conscience. He held Serena tightly, his cold and fierce eyes filled with extreme disgust. How much? I'll compensate you. I'm begging you, stop making a fuss. Torturing me and Serena with such trivial things. Do you feel accomplished? It felt like there was a hole stabbed in my chest. Although he had always been cold and distant to me before, he had never looked at me with such eyes. Now, he must hate me thoroughly. Suddenly, I felt utterly bored. Why bother annoying him here? I gave in. The quilt is dirty. I don't want it anymore. This dirty man, I don't want him either. I propped myself up and stood. Lucian, I'm not sure of money. As I turned to leave, he suddenly grabbed me, his expression tinged with helplessness. You're in a bad mood today. Go home and rest for a few days. I'll come to pick you up in 3 days. I shook off his hand and quickly left. This home we've managed for years. In the end, I'm just a passerby. I had already explained the wedding fiasco clearly to my parents. Seeing me return, my mother let out a long sigh of relief. Daughter, I actually have to thank heaven. What would you have done if you found out only after the wedding? The Lucian family always looks down on us merchants as money grubbers, yet their scholarly lineage has produced such a shameless person. Dad sighed lightly. Don't say that. Daughter is feeling bad. I've already instructed the assistant to withdraw all investments from Lucian's academy. From now on, we will have nothing to do with them. I was hesitating whether to bring up Elias when Mom suddenly said, By the way, Elias came by today and even brought a gift of money. She took out a velvet box from the coffee table drawer. Elias is pretty quick to act. I opened the box, and inside was a pair of heirloom jade bracelets. Only then did I truly realize that Elias was serious about the wedding in 3 days. Night fell. Serena sent me a message. Sister-in-law, please come back. I'll move out right now, and I don't want the child either. You and my brother have been together for 5 years. I can't let you ruin it because of me. I would feel guilty for the rest of my life. I stared at the screen with a cold sneer. If she wanted to make a fuss, she could go find her brother. Why come to me? I replied with one sentence, "Whatever you want." Then, decisively, I blocked her. After doing this, I leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window, lost in thought, feeling somewhat melancholic. My phone suddenly vibrated, and a video call invitation from Elias popped up. His eyes were sparkling on the screen. "Elena, give me a heart." I was stunned. Why all of a sudden? A heart? So cheesy. He shamelessly leaned close to the camera. "I don't care, I want it now." His childish expression made me laugh, and I helplessly quickly made a hard gesture, getting goosebumps all over myself first. He immediately covered his chest, closed his eyes, and made an exaggerated look of intoxication. When he opened his eyes again, he suddenly winked at me with his right eye. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. "Look outside, a gift for you." He chuckled softly and hinted to me. Then the video abruptly ended. The night sky outside suddenly lit up. Hundreds of drones formed a flickering heart, then changed into a line of words. "Elena, happy birthday." Tears instantly blurred my vision. Today's farce made me forget even my own birthday. But he still remembered. Although it was a bit cheesy, I felt his sincerity and liked it very much. As for Lucian, every year on my birthday, he only picks up the pen to write "Happy Birthday" without even writing my name. He always explains it this way: "My calligraphy works have collectible value. If I write your name, no one will want to collect them." This year, he simply said, "I'm too busy preparing for the wedding. No time to write." But the so-called wedding preparations, I was the one who tried on wedding dresses at more than 20 stores. I compared over 30 hotel quotes to book the venue. I stayed up late, writing more than 300 handwritten invitations. The only time he participated was when I was trying on the wedding dress. He reluctantly took 5 minutes to come over, but kept staring at his watch the whole time. It turns out there were always signs that he didn't love me. My heart suddenly tightened, and I hurriedly looked up and blinked. I've already shed too many tears today. At least on my birthday, I want to keep a little dignity for myself. In my sleep, my phone vibrated, and I groggily pressed the answer button. Lucian's voice roared. "Elena, come to the hospital immediately. Serena is in trouble." I woke up instantly. Could the message she sent be serious? I didn't even change my clothes. Wearing pajamas and slippers, I rushed out the door. When I arrived at the ward, I saw Serena sitting upright by the bedside, and Lucian was gently peeling an apple for her. The two of them looked peaceful and content, while I, wearing slippers, slipped halfway outside like a clown. Seeing me appear, Lucian suddenly exploded, grabbing me and pulling me in front of the bed. "Kneel and apologize to Serena." I looked up in shock, still not fully aware, when suddenly a heavy kick struck the back of my bent leg. My knee slammed hard against the ground, and the piercing pain left me unable to move for a moment. "Lucian, are you crazy?" I glared at him fiercely. His eyes surged with terrifying anger. Serena slit her wrist. "She almost died. Don't say I'm crazy. I really want to kill you right now." Serena began to sob at the right moment. "Brother, I sent a message to apologize to sister-in-law, but she blocked me. Sister-in-law must hate me to death. She doesn't want to see me anymore. What's the point of me being alive? Although I despise her, I don't want to get involved in a death." I hurriedly looked up to examine her. There was a half-centimeter-long wound on her wrist, covered with iodine, and it had already scabbed over. Is this a wrist-cutting suicide? A wave of sadness surged in my heart. I tugged at my lips and said, "Lucian, if I come over tomorrow, will her wound have healed by then?" He suddenly went mad. "Elena, how can you be so cruel? If I hadn't discovered it in time, do you know what happens when a pregnant woman loses too much blood? This is probably what they call worrying too much." A small wound threw him into chaos, yet he ignored the blood flowing down my forehead. He must really love Serena. My heart felt like it was tied to a stone and sinking straight down. I frowned and remained silent. This seemed to completely enrage him. He threw the fruit knife at me and said fiercely, "Since you don't care, then make the same cut and feel the pain yourself. This is what you owe Serena." I looked at him in disbelief. This was the man I had loved wholeheartedly for 5 years. In that moment, my heart turned cold. It's just one cut, right? I could just return it to her. Lowering my eyes to hide the tears, I picked up the knife and lightly sliced my wrist. Serena screamed in fright. I struggled to stand up, holding my hand in front of Lucian's eyes. Is that enough? Blood kept dripping down. His eyelashes fluttered rapidly as he looked at me with disdain. Then he turned around to comfort the frightened Serena, muttering curses under his breath. Who told you to cut so deep? You're truly a hopelessly stupid woman. I smiled silently and staggered to the door. He suddenly threw out a sentence. Elena, reflect well at home. I'll come and pick you up in 3 days. I laughed until tears fell. Lucian, we will never see each other again. Lucian has been exhausted these past few days. He has to take care of Serena, who could have an emergency at any time. He also has to find ways to hide his relationship with Serena from his parents. The most troublesome thing is that my family withdrew their investment, causing their cash flow to be cut off, and the new branch that was supposed to open has been halted and put on hold. He originally intended to confront Elena about what was going on. But whenever he thought of the hospital and Elena's last lost and despondent smile, he hesitated again. A voice inside said, this time he really went too far. Elena probably hasn't calmed down yet. If he goes to find her now, she will definitely take the opportunity to control him, making him apologize submissively. That is absolutely impossible. Serena weakly leaned against the headboard, her face pale as paper after just vomiting. Brother, weren't you supposed to pick up sister-in-law today? Lucian casually curled the corner of his mouth. Notarus. He knows Elena too well. Even if he doesn't pick her up today, she will come back on her own sooner or later. Just like before, every time they had a Cold War, she was always the first to give in. Upon hearing this, Serena's eyes lit up and a faint flush appeared on her pale cheeks. At that moment, Aunt Vivian suddenly called, Lucian, Elena's family sent an invitation. Elena is getting married today. Lucian suddenly clenched his phone tightly. Married? To whom? He said the wedding was postponed for a year. How could she possibly get married? Besides him, who else could she marry? After a brief panic, he quickly regained his composure. Mom, she's just throwing a tantrum. It's just a prank. Don't take it seriously. Aunt Vivian was a bit anxious. I sent you the photos, along with the wedding address. Go check out quickly. If she really dares to betray you and have a quick wedding, I definitely won't let her off. Lucian's fingers trembled as he clicked open the photos. On the screen, the wedding convoy, made up of globally limited pink phantoms, was particularly eye-catching. Elena stood by the car in a white dress, holding a bouquet of flowers and smiling brightly. The phone hit the ground with a crack. His heart felt as if it was being tightly gripped by an invisible hand, and his breathing suddenly became difficult. Serena anxiously tugged at his sleeve. Brother, you look terrible. Are you okay? Lucian shook his head blankly, his lips pressed into a straight line. Serena chuckled softly. Sister-in-law must be angry with you. She loves you so much. How could she possibly marry someone else? All these years, I haven't seen her interact with any other men. A sudden marriage is impossible. He couldn't hear clearly what she said. Lucian stood frozen, feeling helpless for the first time. Suddenly, he grabbed his phone and dialed Elena's number. Hello. The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. The mechanical female voice was like a bucket of ice water poured over his head. He trembled as he opened WeChat, only to find he had long been blocked. Elena, how dare you? Lucian furiously smashed his phone against the wall, the screen shattering instantly. He turned around and was about to rush out the door. Serena suddenly grabbed the corner of his shirt, her face pale. Brother, I feel like vomiting again. Can you help me buy some oranges? A surge of anger suddenly rose in his heart. Lucian harshly shook off her hand. Your sister-in-law is about to marry someone else, and you think I still have the heart to buy you oranges? Will you die if you don't eat oranges? Serena was pushed stumblingly, tears instantly welling up. It's the baby who wants to eat. I don't want to either. She pretended to faint, but Lucian coldly turned aside to avoid her. So annoying. If you want to cry, cry enough at home yourself. The moment he slammed the door and walked out, he loosened the tie that was choking him. Whether Elena was really getting married today or not, he had to bring her back. How could she? How dare she marry someone else? Elias chose an ancient church as the wedding venue, the very place where we made our bet years ago. Before the wedding, he quietly leaned close to my ear and said proudly, "You know, the moment you turned and walked away after the bet, I immediately knelt before the statue of Jesus and prayed, begging him to let me win." See, it actually worked. I turned my face away. Childish. He laughed like a child who had one candy. "I've only ever won a bet against you this one time, since we were kids, and I'll admit I'm childish." The priest's deep voice sounded. "Mr. Elias, do you take Ms. Elena to be your wife?" "Ido." Elias's voice trembled with excitement, his hands slightly shaking as he held mine. "Ms. Elena, do you?" "She is unwilling." The church door was suddenly pushed open, and Lucian's figure rushed in quickly. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. "Elena, come with me." The whole place was in an uproar. Before anyone could react, he had already rushed to the altar and was about to grab my wrist. Elias pushed Lucian away and, in one motion, shielded me in his arms. Lucian stared fixedly at Elias's hand wrapped around my waist, his voice suddenly rising. "Elena, where did you find this actor? Are you acting too much? Really thinking you're the groom? You can leave the stage now." Elias raised an eyebrow and pulled me a little closer into his embrace. The anger in Lucian's eyes grew stronger. "I'll say it again. I am Elena's fiancé. I tell you to get lost. Do you understand?" Elias sneered, his fist already clenched tightly. I gently held his hand, signaling that I would handle it. I looked straight into his eyes and said, "Lucian, wasn't I clear enough 3 days ago? Our engagement is already canceled. Today is my wedding with Elias. I don't want to make a scene and disrupt the ceremony. So please leave now." Lucian was clearly stunned, his expression gradually turning ugly. "Just to spite me, you randomly marry someone else? You never think things through, but this time you've really gone too far." He gritted his teeth and softened his tone. "It's not too late to turn back now. I can forgive your recklessness." Before I could respond, he suddenly turned toward the whispering guests, bowed gracefully, and said, "Please forgive me, everyone. My fiancé threw a tantrum, which led to today's mistaken wedding. Let's all disperse now." The guests looked at each other in confusion. Everyone present was a relative or friend of both sides, so there was no way they would leave just because of one sentence from him. I never expected Lucian to be so shameless, still thinking I was just throwing a tantrum. What right does he have to ruin my wedding with Elias? Thinking about how Elias stayed up several nights in a row for this wedding, just to make everything look less rushed, a surge of nameless anger rushed to my head. I raised my hand and slapped Lucian hard, then shouted uncontrollably, "Lucian, are you sick? This is my wedding with Elias. What right do you have to steal the spotlight and send our guests away? I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm completely done with you. Do you understand? You say I'm not smart. What about you? Are you even dumber than me? I beg you to at least keep some dignity in this breakup. Get out of my wedding right now. I never want to see you again in my life." He probably had never seen me so hysterical before. Lucian covered his face, stunned. His voice was hoarse, but I never agreed to cancel the engagement. "I just asked you to go home and calm down for a few days. After all these years of our relationship, how can you just end it like that? Elena, do you even have a conscience?" I sneered coldly. "I have no conscience? You got Serena pregnant, flirted with her right in front of me, and still want me to be the mother of her child, play me around like a fool. And you think you have a conscience?" His eyes reddened. "Serena and I are siblings, not the kind of relationship you think. The child was just an accident and won't affect our relationship. The one I love is you, and that will never change." I sneered inwardly, saying he loves me with his mouth, but his body honestly likes Serena. I didn't want to waste any more words on him, so I turned to the priest and said, "Please continue the wedding." Elias immediately signaled the bodyguards to step forward. Seeing the 2 bodyguards approaching, Lucian suddenly rushed over and tried to pull me away. "Scumbag, you still refuse to repent." Elias finally lost his patience and slammed a fierce punch into Lucian's face. Before he could react, he was kicked down to the ground again. Lucian rolled off the stage in a sorry state and couldn't get up. As the bodyguard dragged him out, he kept looking back at me. Tears mixed with blood, and he forced a smile that was even more pitiful than crying. Just as he was dragged to the church door, he ran into Uncle Ryan, whose face was full of fury. Uncle Ryan raised his hand and delivered a heavy slap, shouting harshly, "Beast!" After Lucian was taken away by Uncle Ryan, the wedding continued. When the priest announced that we were married, Elias pulled me into his arms. His burning palm pressed against my back, and his intense gaze seemed to want to burn me into his eyes. "Is this okay?" Before I could react, his kiss had already landed. Unlike his usual restraint, this kiss carried the meaning of claiming ownership, yet was so gentle it made my heart tremble. The guests erupted into enthusiastic applause and whistles, as if the earlier commotion had never happened. While taking the group photo, Mom suddenly came over, shaking her phone with a sly smile. "Daughter, I just sent the video of you scolding Lucian to the family and friends group. Those two pulled such a disgraceful stunt. Let's see how they can hold their heads high in the circle now." Dad laughed heartily. "Ryan is very proud. Now he's probably going to break his son's leg." I looked up and exchanged a smile with Elias. Just then, the photographer pressed the shutter. In the photo, everyone's smiles were sincere and radiant. The gloom that had weighed on my heart these days finally vanished like smoke. In Lucian's old family house, Lucian knelt upright, while Serena sat beside him with her shoulders hunched, her face pale. Smack! Uncle Ryan swung his arm like a thick stick, striking heavily on Lucian's back. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits. Lucian suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and fell forward. Aunt Vivian kept wiping her tears on the side, but dared not step forward because of Uncle Ryan's stern gaze. Uncle Ryan turned to Serena, his voice as cold as ice. "We adopted you from the orphanage and treated you like our own daughter. How could you do such a thing with your brother? You have completely disgraced us. Tomorrow, go to the hospital to abort the child. Then we will send you abroad. You are not allowed to return for 10 years. Serena immediately knelt down and crawled forward 2 steps, repeatedly kowtowing. "Dad, please, the child is innocent. Can I be allowed to give birth to the child? I've liked my brother since I was young, but I know you won't agree to us being together. This is mine as baby, and also your grandchild. Please let me have the child, okay?" Aunt Vivian finally couldn't hold back and quietly advised, "Why not just let them be? I've watched Serena grow up. After all, she's an adopted daughter, no blood relation, so there's no need to forcibly separate them." Uncle Ryan's expression softened a bit, and he poked Lucian on the ground with a stick. "What about you? What do you have to say?" Lucian struggled to lift his head, blood still at the corner of his mouth. "I only see Serena as a sister." "Beast!" Uncle Ryan's eyes were bloodshot, and the stick kept falling. "Pretending to be a sister? Then why are you sleeping with her? I don't care what you think. Tomorrow you will go get the marriage certificate." Serena, with tearful eyes, reached out to grab Lucian's hand. "Brother, we can finally be together. Get lost." Lucian used all his strength to shake her off. "Dad, I've told you, I only see her as a sister. The one I want to marry is only Elena. If you insist on me marrying Serena, then just kill me today." Serena was trembling all over. "That night, didn't you say I should follow you?" Lucian suddenly burst out. "That night you seduced me. If you hadn't taken off your clothes and pressed against me, how could—" "Serena, it's all your fault. Otherwise, why would Elena reject me?" "Bastard!" Uncle Ryan grabbed a stick and struck down, until Lucian vomited blood and collapsed weakly on the ground. Serena cried until she fainted. Amid the sound of the ambulance siren, the medical staff carried out 2 stretchers. Lucian had 3 broken ribs, and Serena was wearing an oxygen mask. I returned from my honeymoon a month later. Work piled up like a mountain, and I worked overtime until late at night, waiting for Elias to pick me up. I walked out of the office building, and the cold winter night wind hit me in the face. Lucian was leaning against the door smoking. When he saw me come out, he immediately stubbed out his cigarette and hurried over. "Elena." His voice was a bit hoarse. Before I could react, he pulled me into his arms. "I am sorry. I'm sorry. Please forgive me, okay? His arms were wrapped tightly. I've been thinking about you every day for the past month. I can't take it anymore. I could feel his tears soaking my shoulder. This man, who was once calm and composed, was now holding me and crying like a lost child. I can't live without you. For you, I endured my father's beatings, and as soon as I was discharged from the hospital, I came to find you. But your parents had the security guards chase me away, so I could only come here to keep watch. His tears were burning hot, but my heart was very calm. He cupped my face, his voice trembling. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I won't marry Serena. She seduced me, and I don't want the child either. In the end, he said in the gentlest tone, Elena, would you divorce that man? Let's start over. I rolled my eyes and pushed him away forcefully. Don't cry in front of me. I'm not buying it. Lucian's face instantly turned pale, the hurt expression especially obvious under the streetlight. I sneered coldly. Pretending to be affectionate now? It's way too late. I originally wanted to leave directly, but suddenly I wanted him to also taste the heartbreak I felt when I heard Serena was pregnant that day. I curled my lips and looked him straight in the eyes. I'm pregnant. It's Elias's child. I deliberately paused. If we start over, would you be willing to acknowledge this child? His pupils suddenly contracted sharply, and he staggered to hold onto the wall. After a long time, he hoarsely said, Elena, for you, I am willing to be this child's father. In your dreams, Elias's voice suddenly came from behind. He strode forward, pulled me into his arms in front of Lucian, a mocking smile on his lips. Lucian, how come you're like a stubborn sticker that I just can't shake off? He looked Lucian up and down with contempt. Let my wife get a divorce? Be the father of my child? Do you deserve it? The always aloof calligraphy master Lucian. When has he ever been humiliated like this? I awkwardly cleared my throat. Elias suddenly picked me up horizontally, his tone so gentle it could drip water. If you're pregnant, don't stand for too long. Then he whispered through gritted teeth in my ear. He just hugged you? The tip of my ear instantly burned. Elias was actually jealous. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lucian standing still, his face full of bitterness. I casually tossed out, Lucian, I was just joking earlier. Don't take it seriously. Elias gave him a chilly glance and, satisfied, hugged me as he got into the car. As the car started, Serena's frantic figure suddenly flashed in the rearview mirror. She screamed and lunged at Lucian. Why don't you want me? I hate you. Lucian's back visibly hunched. I looked away and turned to the sulking person beside me, reaching out to pinch his cheek. Mr. Elias, if you keep frowning like that, I might get angry. He sighed helplessly, then suddenly grabbed the back of my head and kissed me hard. Now I'm no longer angry. Later, from my parents' gossip, I learned that that night Serena stabbed Lucian several times. Seeing him lying in a pool of blood, she cried her heart out and then turned around to cut her own wrist. In the end, Serena could not be saved and died along with her unborn child. Although Lucian survived, he completely fell apart. He drank heavily every day, was mentally confused, and eventually became a homeless man. I heard the news that day, and I dug out the birthday gifts he had given me over the years. For paintings of Happy Birthday were auctioned off at a sky-high price, truly worthy of a great calligrapher's final work. Just as he said, not signing his name made it even more valuable. The story ends.